Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a nice weekend. I did. In case you care, you might or might not. It was good. Remember today? Let me see what's going on today. Besides the weather getting a little bit warmer, but it's only temporary. We have a quiz coming up today, later today, at the end of class. Just so you're aware ahead of time for your planning purposes, we do have a little extra time for the quiz today, and that will be an extra 5 minutes. So we will, here's my plan, is that we'll stop about 8:50 this morning, and the quiz will appear at 8:54. I feel like this is like an airline schedule or a space launch. You know, we're scheduled down to the second. Anyway, 8:54, and you'll have 20 minutes to take it with a grace period of a minute or two, and then we'll be done. So that's coming up today. We also, I hope, I'm recording. I'm changing up the video process a little bit, and instead of recording to the cloud, I'm recording to my computer, and I hope that this will result in a couple of things. Now, I'm not sure, since I haven't done this before, but I hope that what this will allow is, number one, a little quicker upload, a little quicker access, maybe to the video for you all. We'll see. And also an alternative, as a student who I won't point out, but suggested that maybe I could put them up on YouTube, and I think this is the only way that I can get them on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel that I've used long ago in the past, and gee, I hope there's no commercials. Anyway, a YouTube channel, and I could upload them there as well if you'd rather view them there as opposed to Canvas. So anyway, I'm working on it. This is the first class where that might all happen. So there we go. I got feedback from Mitch on homework 2, and he said you all seem to be getting it. I hope that's true, and we'll find out firsthand after the quiz today. Also, I'm starting to plan, just so you're aware, I'm starting to plan for the midterm. I hate to bring that up today, but the midterm is 2 weeks from this Thursday, October 8th or 10th, or anyway, sometime like that. And of course, it will be an amalgamation of the quizzes. So and homework and some other stuff. So anyway, that's all I think for the announcements. I hope you saw the posted homework solutions, and you've been taking advantage of the spreadsheets that have been posted. There's two or three. I moved a couple since I didn't get to them in class last time. If you go on Canvas and you look under in class, and you'll see today's class, there should be 3 files, Excel files posted there. One for payback, one for mortgage, and one for loan payment plans. We'll be looking at those today. I hope as we, gee, many Christmas, we've been in chapter 17 forever. I really don't want to apologize for that, but it took longer than I anticipated. My fault. And so we're for sure, obviously, gonna wipe that out today. There is one topic that we're not covering that I expected to cover, and I'll point that out very briefly to, right here at the start of class. So, so here we go. Today, I'm going to talk about what we're not covering very briefly. We're going to talk about what's called the payback period and what kind of measure that is. And then we're going to move right on over to loans. So that's today's topic. Loans, loan payment plans, the mortgage example, all that is chapter 16. And we won't be in chapter 16 nearly as long as we were in chapter 17. All righty, I'm going to, first I need to make sure I have the right spreadsheet up, and I don't. Now I'm going to share my screen with you. Now I wanted to point something out. This is a spreadsheet that I've shared with you earlier called MEA examples. This is where they were solved. So if you didn't get that earlier, of course, the mutually exclusive alternative examples solved, and hopefully I know many of you have found the spreadsheet helpful on the homework. You know, this has all the solutions to the problems, and so you can follow the formulas and the functions and how we got where we got. I didn't talk about this tab, which was called incremental, and this is discussed in the book. I think this is kind of at least for me, it's arrogance. It's not anymore hard, but it can be a challenge. It can be challenging stuff. So incremental analysis is simply this, that when you look at all these alternatives, okay, so here's some cash flows in year 0, and then this is the cash flows for each year. This is a little different format than I've shown you in the past, and this is simply, if you take a cash flow diagram, you know, and kind of turn it on its head, or I guess maybe on its side. Think matrix, if you're into matrices, and you transpose a matrix. That's kind of what we do with this cash flow diagram. Anyway, and these are the years, and these are the cash flows for each year. And here's the present worth for these cash flows. Notice there's another function, NPV. I should probably do a little video just to show you how that function works, but I'm not going to, because I don't think you'll need it. I might do it anyway. So there's the format. Here's the present worth. We know which one of these is best. It's ER1 is the best alternative. Well, there's a process called incremental analysis where you look at the difference in the cash flows. So here, notice I have ER1 minus ER3. I'm going to look at this alternative, but I'm going to look at the difference between the cash flows for this alternative ER1 and this alternative ER3. So you'll notice in the formula here, I'm just subtracting one from the other. And I do that all the way down the line. Each of these is simply the difference between two cash flows. And this turns out to have a positive present worth. This is the present worth of the incremental cash flows. And the fact that this is positive means that the first one is better than the second one. There's a process you go through. It's helpful. It doesn't necessarily, it gives you information that's good to know. It's always good to know more stuff, but it doesn't do any more than the regular method and find the maximum present worth. In fact, you will ultimately determine that the winner of this incremental analysis contest is ER1. So it's still the decision. All it does is provide extra information. It does not give you a different solution to the problem or a better solution to the problem. Just extra information. And since it's discussed in the book, I wanted to just touch on it here. If you're confused, don't worry. Just don't do it. I'm not going to ask you about it on the quiz, or on the midterm or final or anything. But I wanted to, just to be thorough, I wanted to make sure I touched base with incremental analysis. When I said in my notes in the slides, I said with respect to the rate of return, if you're going to use rate of return to compare alternatives, you have to do it with an incremental analysis. We're not going to do that, but you would have to use incremental methods in order to use rate of return to pick from among alternatives. And since you'd still get the same answer you would find in the present worth, we're not going to do that. I do want to show you one thing, however, and this one thing was done by a student on the homework, and I thought, hey, that's probably a good thing to show you. And this is another rate of return function, and that rate of return function is the internal rate of return. So there's a little easier rate of return calculation. If you want to list all of your cash flows in this format, and I probably should spend time, I'll make a very short video on this and post it. This is a nice feature. I just don't want to take more class time than I'm going to end up taking here. And if you put your cash flows in this sort of format, so you have what cash flow is happening this year, what cash flow is happening this year, and for short time periods, 5, 10 years, that's really fine. It's not complicated. Sometimes when your cash flows get out to 30 and 40 years, you're filling up your sheet and it gets messy. But at any rate, again, make sure your cash flows have the correct sign on them. And then you use this function. It's called IRR, internal rate of return. And the beauty of the internal rate of return function is that there are almost no arguments. Notice the first argument is values, very nondescript. And the second argument is that ugly guess thing. Well, here we go. Values just highlight all your cash flows. And if your cash flows have the correct sign, the negative cash flows, negative sign, positive cash flows, positive sign, that's all you have to do and you'll get the rate of return. So it's really, really, really simple. It's a wonderful, wonderful function. So, so there we go. That's that I wanted to cover very quickly. Okay, let's now, if you would allow me, go to today's first topic, which is payback. And there's again, in the there's a folder for today's class, and a payback spreadsheet is there for you. And I'm going to go through that spreadsheet. It's already been solved in the spreadsheet, and that's where we're starting. And then we're going to undo that, and I'll show you how I got where I got. Hang on just 1 second. Okay, here we go. Payback. Payback is a you can apply this to an individual project, and it's not it generally well, that's not necessarily true. There are two kinds of payback: regular traditional payback, standard payback, and then there's something called discounted payback. Payback really is a measure of how quickly your capital is returned to you, how quickly you recover your investment in a project. So and this would not just large companies, I was about to say large companies, but everybody, when you invest, you have a certain amount of funds available. And when you're running a business, it's very important that you keep your funds active, right? They've got to be invested in something. They have to be going toward building up your business. And so having funds available to invest is critically important. Payback is a measure of how quickly you get your money back after you've invested it in something. So when a company buys, we've been doing dump trucks and track hose and front end loaders. Let's just stick with a dump truck. When a company, buy a dump truck, I want to get my money back from that as soon as I can, so that I can invest it in something else that will earn me income. So payback provides that picture, and payback is used everywhere. Sometimes it's called payout, but it's really payback. When are you paid back for your investment? How quickly does that happen? And there are many a decision maker who makes their decisions on investment strictly on payback. How quickly do I get my money? So here it is, here on the spreadsheet. And I have two columns here. Here's this cumulative cash flow. And this column is, as you'll notice, it's the previous year's cumulative cash flow plus the cash flow for that particular year. So I'm just adding them up is all I am doing. If I invest in this alternative, whatever it is, here are the cash flows for every year. Notice they go up, and then they peak here at year 6, and then they dwindle down to year 12. Maybe that's the project life, is 12 years. Well, so in the first year, I've invested $15,000, so that's gone. Now, at the end of the first year, during the first year, but at the end of the first year, I have accumulated $3,000. So if I'm down 15, I add 3 because I've made 3, and now I am net down 12, right? I now have $12,000 is yet to be recovered from my initial investment. Well, in year 2, I earned $4,000. So I was down 12. I've earned 4, so now I'm only down 8. Okay, so I'm now at negative $8,000. I've recovered $7,000 of my investment, and there's $8,000 yet to be recovered. And in year 3, $4,500. So now I'm down $3,500. And in year 4, I earned $5,000 from this. And now I'm, when they say I'm in the black, that means you're above 0, you're positive. It's good. It's a good thing. And now our cumulative cash flow is $1,500. So what does that say? That says that my payback period is 4 years. It took me 4 years to earn, to pay back, to earn enough that I've recovered my entire investment. Now you might say, well, you know, it happened sometime during the 4th year, right? It was after the 3rd year, but it wasn't really all the way out to, yeah, forget that business. We don't do it that way. It's not, what would that be, like 3.7 years? It's 4 years. Payback is 4 years. That's the payback period. So once again, here we're going to do this. This is going to mess up my next column, but don't worry about that. Oh, I thought it would. Okay, so here's the cumulative cash flow. So the first time zero amount is always what you invested. At 0, you're down the whole shooting match. And then each successive year is simply the previous cumulative cash flow plus the amount earned that year. And then you can copy that down. What I generally do is just slide that all the way. And you don't need these down here because they're way positive. That's great news, but that doesn't mean anything. To payback doesn't care what happens out here. Payback only cares about the year in which this turns positive. Okay, so the payback period is 4 years. You know, unfortunately, I can't see your questions when, or your chats. Hopefully there isn't any right now. When I'm sharing my screen, I don't see a chat window. Oh, maybe there is a chat window. There we go. Okay, anyway, okay, cumulative cash flow. Now let's talk about discounted payback. You'll notice that regular payback takes no account of the time value of money, right? There's no time value of money discussed here. It's not included. We're just adding up numbers. So actually that's kind of sleazy. I don't like that that straight payback method. It's simple, which is why people use it, but it doesn't take into account that time value of money. So that's what we do with the discounted payback method. Now, I've really jumped the gun here. So in doing what I did, you'll notice these might be complicated. These might look foreign to you. So I'm going to do this a slightly different way. If you'd like to save this as something else and see another way to do the discounted payback, I'm going to do it a little different way because I think that's important. So let's change this. And let's say discounted annual cash flow is what I'm going to do here. So in this column, I'm going to take the annual cash flow and bring it to time 0. And once again, at time 0, that's going to be, it is what it is, right? So it's already, it's already brought back to time 0. Now let's look at year 1. What this column is saying, what I'm saying here, discounted annual cash flow. You know, I don't remember if we discussed the term discounted, but you know, future cash flows are in the future need to be discounted. That is, they're reduced when we find their economic equivalents today or at time 0, because of that 5% in this problem, the Mars 5%, because of that 5% growth, those numbers are larger in the future from a number perspective. And so when we bring those back, we need to discount those. They'll be smaller. That's a P given F, right? That number is going to be a little smaller. So what we will do is we'll take each individual cash flow here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to type in the formula and then we'll do it Excel wise. This will be the cash flow there, and I'm going to call it F times P given F at the MAR, so that's 5% here. And for this, it will be for 1 year. I'm just going to bring that $3,000 at the end of year 1 back to time 0, the economically equivalent amount at time 0, and I'll use the P given F interest rate, interest formula, interest factor to bring that value back. And what I will do then in year 2 is I will say this is equal to F, which is the let's put the number in here, $4,000 times P given F, 5%. And for that number, I'm bringing it back 2 years, right? Since it's 2 years in the future, we need to bring that back from end of year 2 to time 0. And the 4,500, I will bring back, it'll be 4,500 P given F, 5% for 3 years. And then the 5,000 times P given F, 5% for 4 years. So you can see, I hope, I'm going to take those individual cash flows and just bring them back to time 0. And that takes, now I have the same kind of column, but now those values have been reduced because they're discounted. Now they're time 0. Now I'm accounting for the time value of money. Okay, now let's actually calculate them. And I'm going to set up this formula so that I'll just be able to copy it down. And this will be, I'll use we're looking for a P given F, so that's a PV equal, again, negative PV. And the interest rate is 5%. I'm going to put cell C2. So $C, $2. You could type in 5% if you want. I get into that habit because I might want to change the 5% to something later. I'm not going to. The next argument is the number of periods. Now I'm going to come over here and just click this here over here, and that means when I drag the formula down, the year will go with it, and that's what I want. There is no PMT, no payment. I'm moving future amounts. I'm moving future values, so I'll skip that argument, and then I'll select that $3,000 as the future value. Okay, so that's 2857. There you can see the discount part, right? That's been reduced. And I'll copy that formula down a little bit. Oh, wait, I'm messing up. Okay, so oh no, that's right. I'm way ahead of myself, which is rare. Okay, so now we can copy that formula down, and these are now our discounted cash flows. We won't need these future ones. Bugging me. So these are now my discounted cash flows equivalent. And now I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the cumulative cash flows. So let me, I'm going to say this is the cumulative discounted annual cash flow. There should be some label for that. Now I'm going to do the payback activity, but I'm going to do it on these discounted cash flows and not on the original cash flows. But I do the same type of activity. So it's the previous cumulative discounted annual cash flow plus the discounted annual cash flow for that year. And you can see that it's going to build a little more slowly, right? Because I'm recovering a little bit less each year because of the discount. And I'll just drag that down a while. And in fact, you can see that it has extended my payback by 1 year. Instead of paying back in 4 years with the discounted payback method, I pay it back in 5 years. And yeah, I realize I'm really close at the end of 4 years, but we're not there yet. So it takes 5 years, discounted payback. Okay, that's payback and discounted payback. I'm going to, if I can do it without, I'm going to save this in my spot, and I will post this this kind of revised payback so you can see this second method. You'll have it readily at hand. Obviously there's no payback on this quiz, but I can imagine there's going to be one payback on the midterm. So there you go. All right. I know you're just chomping at the bit for the quiz. We're not there yet. But we'll be there soon. Okay. Now we are changing gears. We are going to talk about loans. Now I want to point out that so far we've solved these problems, these MEA problems, mutually exclusive alternatives, even with this payback. We kind of acted like the investment that you made in these things was cash out of your pocket investment. And that happens all the time. So that's fine. Now, sometimes it's not cash out of your pocket investment, but you have to borrow money to do it. And when you borrow money, it changes your cash flows, right? Cash is important. Cash is not expenses or income. Those income and expenses are accounting concepts. That doesn't make them false or fake. It's just that those are accounting. Cash is cash flow is different. You can have wonderful income and pathetic cash flow and vice versa. But sometimes you have to borrow money for your dump truck, or borrow money for your front end loader, or borrow money for your track hoe, or borrow money for us. Maybe you're going into the cement business. So you borrow money and then you pay it back. Now we've talked about that a little bit, and hopefully we're all very comfortable. You shouldn't be comfortable necessarily always borrowing money, but comfortable with the concept. And when you borrow money and then you pay it back. And it's a contractual agreement. It's a legally binding agreement. And you don't want to miss your payments because all kinds of bad things can happen. That structure of those payments can be varied, wildly varied. We're going to talk about a little bit of that. And I can already tell that we're not going to get as far as I'd like to get. So on Thursday, I expected to be back here anyway, but we'll be back here on Thursday talking about some of these loan concepts. I'm not going to hit you with a PowerPoint on this. I do, however, want to talk about some of these issues with respect to loans. You can see I'm prepared ahead of time. Some things like what's the interest rate that you will pay for your loan? And the interest rates vary wildly, and it depends on a number of factors. Oh gosh, so many factors. Talk to your friends over in the business school. First of all, well, I'm not going to go into all the factors. Just suffice it to say that if if you have so much money that you really don't need a loan, you can get a really good rate on your loan. And if you're at the point where you just don't have much money and you're just dying to get a loan, they're probably going to charge a lot of money. So there's all sorts of reasons why, risk, the bank's taking a risk when they loan you money and they don't want to lose their money. And anyway, all kinds of reasons why they're different. However, you can have fixed or variable rate loans. And so the loan rate you have can be fixed for the entire period of the loan, or it can be variable. It might change over the period of the loan due to some external factors. Generally, variable rate loans follow some specific economic measure. They may follow the, let's say like the one year treasury note. Whatever that rate is, you add 3% and that's what your interest rate is. Or the LIBOR, that's an international rate that a lot of variable rate home mortgages used to be, maybe still are, based on. And if the interest rate changes over time, that presents uncertainty to the borrower, because usually they can only go up so much each year, and the rates can only change so much over the lifetime of the loan, but that still presents a level of uncertainty that you might not wish to have. You also have various terms of your loan, like how much money will you be putting down? What cash will you provide up front for this asset that you may be using the loan to purchase? You'll have some other costs. If you buy a home, you will be amazed at the number of extra add-on costs that occur. Just this past summer, my wife and I moved, and we sold our house we'd been in for 20 years, I guess, and bought another one, and I was shocked. Even that in 20 years, the number of forms that I signed was incredible, and all the extra costs. We'll talk about a little bit more about that when we talk about mortgages. And then there's a payment schedule. How are you going to pay it back? Will this be a 5-year loan? Will you have a balloon payment? Will it be a 15-year loan? Will it be a 2-year loan? Is it an interest-only loan? And then a balloon at the end? Maybe you don't pay anything on it until the end. It's like an F given P kind of loan. All of those things are critically important parts of the contractual agreement of a loan. And then lastly, we'll talk about what's called a line of credit. And quite often in the construction business, particularly if you are a small concern, you will establish a line of credit that you'll simply draw from. And you'll have an asset that serves as collateral for that line of credit. And then it's kind of like, gee, I need more water from the well, I need to go get some. Now you pay for it, right? But it's something that you can pay down and then you can draw out of, and it's really quite handy, and it's good for a lot of things. We'll talk a little bit about lines of credit. And we'll talk about those. That'll be next time. The last thing I would like to do here, and that's I guess in the last 10 minutes, is talk about the issue of payment schedule. Let's talk about loans, and let's talk about payment schedule. So there is a spreadsheet that is called loan payment. And I'm obviously not prepared for that. Hang on a second. Okay, there it is, loan payment. This loan here, this here loan, move it so I can see myself. Is a simplified, right? So simplified, we're going to pay this back in 4 months. This is a $17,000 loan. We will pay it back in 4 months, in 4 payments, maybe in 4 months. And there's different ways that we could pay it back, different sorts of payment schemes that we could use to pay back this loan. And I want to run through each one of them. Okay, plan 1. Here's the first plan. And we're going to pay the interest due at the end of each month and then save the principal. The principal is paying down on the loan. So the principal of the loan is how much you currently owe on the amount borrowed. Principal of the loan. It could also be called, well, that's the remaining principal. The principal is really how much you originally borrowed. And the remaining principal is how much you currently owe on the loan. So in this scheme, we will pay only interest each month. And then we'll pay the principal amount here at the end of the period, end of the 4th month. We need to calculate how much interest accrues or gathers or is charged each month. So in this column, we will calculate how much interest is charged. Well, it's 1% per month. So this is going to be 0.01, 1% of the amount that you owe, that you still owe. And for us, that's $17,000. The interest is $170. Now, we owed at the beginning of the month $17,000. We accrued $170 in interest expense. And therefore, we owe the total of those two. We still owe the original amount, and now we owe the interest amount. So at the end of the 1st month, we owe $17,170 on our loan. We're not making a principal payment. We're simply making the interest payment. So total end of month payment, the cash flow, we are going to pay $170. Now this, I don't want this to be confusing. This could be a negative cash flow. It is a negative cash flow, right? We're paying it. But I'm going to leave it as a positive number. I could get confused myself with that. I hope you're not confused. So we're paying $170. How much do we owe then at the beginning of the next month? Well, it's obvious we still owe $17,000. Let's calculate it. It's going to be equal to the amount we owed minus the amount we paid. Glad that turned out right. Okay, so we still owe $17,000. How much interest accrues? Well, we know how much interest accrued. It was $170. And we know that we still owed, we're still going to add these two up and we'll get $17,170. And we know that we're going to pay the interest. So these, I'm just going to drag these formulas down. Let's drag them down another month here because it's all the same. Every month, $170 is charged in interest. We pay the interest of $170. We still owe $17,000. And at the very end, yes, we still owe $17,000. Yes, the interest accrued is 170. Yes, we owe $17,170. Our principal payment is $17,000. So our total end of month payment is going to be the 17,000 and the interest for that period. So our total end of month payment is the 17,170. I'm paying it off. I'm paying the interest and I'm paying the 17,000 off. That is a payment plan. These cash flows are all these in total, all these in total are economically equivalent to $17,000 at time zero, given an interest rate of 1% per month. Now, why would you do this? Well, you would do this, you would have a loan like this if you borrowed the money and you didn't want to you didn't have the cash flow to make more payments each month, but you knew that you were going to get paid back for your work at the end of the 4th month. So you get paid back for your work, and then you can pay off the loan. So this is an attractive loan arrangement for someone who needs to invest up front, like to construct something and have those expenses, and then at the end of a certain amount of time, you get a large chunk of money back that you can use to pay back the loan. It's a very attractive model for that. In this one, this next plan, we're going to pay off the debt with 4 payments. This is an A given P, right? This is simple. Right here, you can see I've used the PMT function. This is A given P. And so we're just going to pay this off in 4 equal installments. What we haven't looked at before, and we're not going to have time to look at it today in detail, what we haven't looked at before is the decrease in interest that goes on as time goes on with this payment structure, and the increase in the principal payments that happens with this payment structure. And since this payment structure is so prevalent in many aspects of business and in life, we'll look at this in detail, and we'll pick up here on Thursday, filling this out. We'll look at the mortgage spreadsheet on Thursday as well, which is going to kind of round out the loan, the standard loan concepts. And then we'll dip into the line of credit. We'll also look at these other expenses on loans and how they affect in a very, it's interesting when you have all these other, what they're called closing costs on a loan, it's interesting that all of a sudden the interest rate that you're paying grows without you knowing it and without it being explicit. So we'll talk about that on Thursday. Okay, so we're gonna take a break here in just a minute, and at around 8:50, doesn't have to be exactly, but around 8:50, and at 8:54, the quiz should pop up. Now, in the instructions of the quiz, I think I said there are only 2 questions, but each one has multiple parts. Well, to make the multiple parts work, it's going to look to you like there are 4, I think there are 4, looks like 4 questions. The first 2 are about the same problem, and I copied the problem description so you can see it when you're on part B. So it's like a part A and a part is one question, a part B is another question. And then for the next question, again, it's kind of the same thing, a part A and a part B. So you'll see 4, it's multiple choice again. It's just, it's like homework. It's like the front end of the more straightforward homework questions. So I think you'll be okay. You're welcome to use your text and whatever spreadsheets have been provided and notes and you know, Voodoo, whatever you do on your quiz calculator, spreadsheet you use it to help solve these problems. So I wish you the best. I'm thinking that the scores on this quiz will be very high. I'm hoping that they are. So you can take a just kind of a few minute stretch break, and then we'll be good to go on the quiz once again at 8:54. At least that's why I set it up. At 8:54, it should be available to you. Double check, triple check your work. I think you'll have, hopefully most of you will have time to do that. So you know, don't make a mistake where later you say, well, that was a dumb mistake. Don't do that. Take your time, be disciplined, and I'm looking for everybody to get a perfect score. So we'll work from that. Okay, Thursday morning, same time, I'll be in the same place. Hopefully you might be in the same place, and I'll see you then. Take a short break and be ready for the quiz at 8:54. I'm gonna be watching the chat. I'm gonna stop the recording. I'll be watching in case there's some huge breakdown in the system. Other than that, have a great couple of days.